Officer Hayes had seen 1,000 hands go into cuffs, shaking ones, defiant ones, hands that begged, but not like this, not hands that stayed perfectly still, palms open, fingers loose, like a man who'd done this dance before and knew exactly how it ended. The living room smelled like chicken soup and crayons, the kind of safe, suburban smell that made Hayes relax his grip for just a second. That was his first mistake. Daniel Carter's eyes never left Hayes's gun hand, not his face, not his badge, his gun hand, and in that flicker of focus, Hayes felt something cold crawl up his spine. Upstairs, a 9-year-old girl slept in a room full of stuffed animals and fairy lights. And downstairs, her father stood between 4 armed officers like a man guarding a perimeter, not protecting a child. Hayes's fingers touched the cold metal of the cuffs. Daniel's voice came quiet, almost polite. "You sure you want to do this, officer?" It wasn't a threat. It was a warning, and by the time Hayes realized the difference, his own gun was already on the floor. The house on Maple Street looked forgettable, which was the point. Daniel Carter sat at the kitchen table helping Lily with her math homework, the yellow light casting familiar shadows across her workbook. She chewed her pencil, dark hair falling across her face the way her mother's used to. "Dad, I don't get it," she said, tapping the equation. "Why does X have to equal something? Why can't it just be X?" Daniel smiled without reaching his eyes. "Because X is always hiding something, kiddo. The whole point is figuring out what's really there." She looked at him with that too-old expression. "Like you?" His pen stopped moving. Before he could answer, his phone buzzed on the counter, screen down like always. 3 times. Then silence. Lily didn't notice, but Daniel's shoulders went tight. 2 years of being careful, 2 years of routine as Armour walk Lily to the bus stop, pick her up. Dinner at 6:15, homework at 7, bedtime at 8:30. Predictable meant survival, but the text from 3 days ago kept playing in his mind. "They know where you are." Daniel moved to the window, checking the street with casual ease but scanning for threats with precision. Mrs. Patterson walking her dog, the Hendersons' porch light on. A car he didn't recognize 3 houses down, dark and still. He watched it for 30 seconds before deciding it was probably nothing. Probably. That word had become the most dangerous in his vocabulary. His hand drifted to his hip, to the empty space where a holster used to be. Old habits. Lily watched him. "You okay, Dad?" He forced himself back to the table. "Just thinking. Let's figure out what X is hiding." That night, after Lily was asleep, Daniel stared at his phone in the dark living room. The text stared back. "They know where you are." He'd been so careful. New name, new identity, documentation that cost everything. The FBI had promised protection after his testimony. But that ended when his wife died in what they called an accident, and he called murder. After that, he went off-grid with Lily and disappeared into suburban invisibility. Except someone had found him anyway. He deleted the message like all the others and tried to convince himself it was paranoia. But paranoia kept you alive. Comfort got you killed. 2 days later, Sunday night, 3 sharp knocks demanded attention at the front door. Daniel dried his hands slowly, mind running through exits, through the emergency bag in the crawl space, through the peephole. 4 police officers, led by a weathered man in his 40s. The lead officer raised his badge. Daniel opened the door with the chain on. "Can I help you, officers?" The lead, Hayes, his name tag read, nodded politely. "Daniel Carter, we need you to come down to the station and answer some questions." Daniel kept his voice level. "What's this about?" Hayes glanced at the other officers, Martinez, Brooks, Thompson. "Neighbor complaint, suspicious activity, possible drug involvement. Come with us, and we can clear this up. Drug involvement. Too mundane, too stupid, too wrong. Someone had manufactured it specifically to get him into this situation. There must be some mistake," Daniel said, watching Hayes shift from polite to wary. "I work from home. I have a 9-year-old daughter. I don't even drink." Hayes held up a hand. "We just need you to answer questions. Unless you'd prefer we get a warrant? A warrant meant searching the house, finding things that would raise questions. Go bags, multiple IDs, burner phones, things that would make them look closer. And closer was the last thing he needed. My daughter is asleep upstairs. I can't leave her alone. Martinez stepped forward, hand on holster. The more you resist, the more suspicious this looks. We can arrange for child services. Child services. Lily in the system, being processed, being uncovered. Never. Daniel met Hayes's eyes and saw a flicker of sympathy. Father, recognizing father. 10 minutes. Let me get her settled with a neighbor. You have my word. Hayes studied him, then nodded. Thompson stays here. Daniel climbed the stairs and woke Lily gently. Her eyes went wide with fear. The same fear from 2 years ago. Dad, what's happening? Are they here? The bad people? He smoothed her hair back. Just a misunderstanding. But if I'm not back by morning, there's a number under your desk drawer. Call it, say your name. Someone safe will come. Understand? Tears filled her eyes, but she nodded. I understand. He kissed her forehead, hating that his past had found them anyway. Downstairs, he grabbed his jacket, his wallet with the fake ID. I'm ready. The ride was silent, except for radio crackle. Daniel sat in back, hands loose on his knees, counting streetlights. 37, 38, old habit from operations. At the station, they led him through processing into an interrogation room smelling of burnt coffee. Hayes spread photographs across the table and Daniel's blood went cold. His car or the car registered to Daniel Carter outside a warehouse at 2 a.m., Thursday, the day he got the text. Daniel studied them carefully, looking for tells. There the angle was wrong. That camera didn't exist at that height. Someone had manufactured these. I was home that night, Daniel said flatly, with my daughter. Dinner, homework, movie. She fell asleep on the couch around 9:30. Hayes leaned back, arms crossed. No one to corroborate? Daniel met his eyes. I'm a single father. My wife died 2 years ago. It's just me and Lily. Sympathy flickered across Hayes's face. But you have to understand how this looks. Your car, that location, known trafficking area. Daniel leaned forward, hands flat on the table, voice quiet and intense. I need you to listen carefully. I am not a drug dealer. Someone is setting me up, and if you run my fingerprints or do any background check beyond surface level, you're going to find things that make your life very complicated. There are people, federal people, who would prefer I stay invisible. If you shine a spotlight on me, you won't like what crawls out. Hayes's eyes narrowed. Is that a threat? Daniel shook his head slowly. It's a warning. Hayes stood, gathered the photos. Sit tight. 20 minutes alone felt like hours. When Hayes returned, his face was pale and Captain Miller was with him, steel-gray hair, eyes that knew radioactive when they saw it. Uncuff him, Miller said, voice clipped and angry. Hayes blinked. Ma'am. Miller cut him off. Now. Then everyone out except me and Mr. Carter. The cuffs came off. When the door closed, Miller sat across from Daniel. Would you like to tell me why running your fingerprints triggered a federal override that crashed my system and got me a call from a deputy director I've never heard of? Daniel rubbed his wrists. I'm someone who's supposed to stay off the grid. For everyone's safety, including yours. Miller's jaw tightened. Are you FBI? Close enough. Was. Long time ago. I testified against bad people with long memories. The Bureau promised protection. But after my wife died, I took my daughter and disappeared. Built a new life. Someone found me anyway. Miller studied him. The photos. They're fake? Daniel nodded. Someone wanted me in this exact situation. Arrested, processed, fingerprinted, to smoke me out. Now they know. Miller paced to the mirror. Who's they? Daniel wished he knew. But they won't stop. If you file paperwork, if this goes into the system, my daughter becomes a target. A 9-year-old girl becomes collateral in something that has nothing to do with her. Miller turned back. I have a daughter, 17 now, but I remember 9. I'd burn the world to keep her safe. Daniel held her gaze. Then you understand why I'm asking you to make this disappear. Miller nodded slowly, opened the door. Hayes and the others waited outside, radiating confusion. Gentlemen, Mr. Carter is released immediately. Everything about tonight gets erased. This investigation is closed. Hayes stepped forward, face flushed. Captain, we have evidence Miller's look could freeze nitrogen. You have photos that may not be authentic, and a man we don't want to mess with. Drop it. Clear? They nodded. Daniel stood. I need to get back to my daughter. Hayes nodded, understanding passing between them. I'll drive you. They walked out through harsh lighting and curious stares. 3 blocks from the station, Hayes pulled over and cut the engine. Daniel's hand drifted to the door handle, but Hayes just sat there, staring at rain-slicked street. I've been a cop 22 years. When someone trips federal alarms like you just did, they're either very dangerous or very scared. Sometimes both. Daniel waited. Hayes turned to look at him. Those photos were fake. Someone set you up. Someone who knows police procedure. Daniel nodded. Yes. Hayes drummed fingers on the wheel. So whoever did this wanted to flush you out. They knew we'd run your prints. They knew the feds would respond. Which means they wanted to see who you really are. Daniel's chest tightened. Or see who would come running when I called for help. Hayes started the engine. Your daughter, she's safe? Daniel thought of Lily alone, scared, waiting. She's alone. I told her to lock the doors. Hayes's foot pressed harder on the accelerator. Then we need to get back fast. If someone went through this trouble to expose you, they won't stop with a failed arrest. Daniel pulled out his phone, tried calling the house. No answer. Tried again. Nothing. His hands started shaking. Hayes glanced over. How far are you willing to go to protect her? Daniel heard the real question underneath. All the way. Hayes nodded like that was the only answer that made sense. They drove through rain-dark streets, Hayes running red lights until they turned onto Maple Street, cutting lights and coasting to a stop 3 houses down. The street was too quiet. Daniel's porch light was off. Something's wrong. That light was on when I left. Hayes grabbed his arm. Wait. Let me call backup. Daniel shook off his grip. No backup. No calls. If someone's in there with my daughter, the second they hear sirens, she becomes a hostage. I'm going in, alone. Hayes's jaw clenched, but he nodded, reaching under his seat for a backup piece. You didn't get this from me, and if you use it, make sure you're the only one who walks out. Daniel checked the clip, felt the weight, and everything civilian fell away like old skin. He moved toward his house with silent efficiency. The front door was locked but gave slightly when tested, like someone had picked it and closed it carefully. He went around back to the basement window he'd left unlatched, dropped down into darkness. The basement smelled familiar, but Daniel focused on the stairwell, on the line of light under the door at top. Someone had turned on a light. Someone who shouldn't be there. He moved upstairs one at a time, testing for creaks, gun held low and ready. At the top, he pressed his ear to the door. Footsteps. Male voice. Lily's voice. Scared but brave. Everything in Daniel went cold and focused and lethal. He'd killed before, in duty, in operations gone bad. But this was different. This was someone threatening his daughter in their home. And there was no line he wouldn't cross. He turned the knob slowly, pushed the door open, stepped into the kitchen. Light in the living room beyond, 2 figures, a man by the fireplace, Lily on the couch, hands folded. The man had his back to the kitchen, but something about his stance triggered recognition. Daniel moved forward, gun pointed low. Step away from my daughter. The man turned slowly, hands visible and empty. Daniel's world tilted. Martinez. Officer Martinez from the arrest team, except he wore civilian clothes now, expression amused and dangerous, and far too familiar. "Hello, Alex," Martinez said, using the name Daniel hadn't heard in 2 years. "Or should I call you Daniel? I can never keep track." Daniel's finger tightened on the trigger. I said, "Step away from her." Martinez smiled without humor. "Relax. I'm not here to hurt her. I'm here to talk, to offer you a deal." Lily looked between them, eyes wide with confusion and fear. Martinez stood between her and every exit. This wasn't a random cop. This was someone from his old life, someone who'd set up the whole arrest to confirm his location. "Who are you?" Daniel asked, suspecting he knew. Martinez's smile widened. "You don't recognize me? I'm hurt, Alex. Though I did look different with a beard, and you were busy shooting my brother in the face during that raid 2 years ago." The words hit like a blow. The raid. When 20 million disappeared and his wife ended up dead and he became someone running for his life. "Marco Rivera," Daniel said. "I thought you were dead." Marco shrugged. "Faking death is easy with the right connections. I've been Officer Thomas Martinez for 3 years. Great cover. No one suspects the cop. And when someone gets flagged in the system, someone trying hard to stay invisible." He spread his hands. "I get a phone call." Daniel's mind raced. Marco had known about the fingerprint flag, had been waiting for this exact moment. The text, the photos, the arrest, all Marco pulling strings. "What do you want?" Daniel asked, though he knew. Marco's eyes gleamed. "The money. Alex, the 20 million that disappeared, the money your wife stole and hid before the cartel killed her, or before the FBI killed her, depending on which version you believe." Daniel's finger tightened on the trigger. "Elena didn't." Marco laughed, sharp and bitter. "Please. Your wife was a cartel informant for 2 years. She fed them intel, warned them about raids. When opportunity came to steal 20 million and disappear, she took it. Only problem, she never got to run." Lily made a choked sound from the couch, hearing this for the first time. Daniel wanted to go to her, but Marco stood between them. "Elena died in a car accident," Daniel said, doubt in his voice. Marco shook his head. "Elena died because the FBI decided she was a liability. Easier to eliminate her and take the money than let her testify. But they never found the money either, which means Elena hid it, and you're the only person who might know where." Daniel felt the world tilting. The accident had been too clean, too convenient. He'd suspected, but suspecting and knowing were different. "I don't know where it is. Elena never told me. I didn't know she'd taken it until after she was gone." Marco's expression shifted to disappointment mixed with calculation. "I was afraid you'd say that. Which brings us to option 2. He pulled out his phone, showed Daniel the screen. Documents, classified FBI memos, surveillance photos, financial records, evidence of federal cover-up, agents taking bribes, Daniel's handler orchestrating Elena's death. 2 years gathering this. Proof your own people killed your wife and tried to steal the money. Proof that would send important people to prison, including the deputy director who just called your captain." The implications crashed over Daniel. If Marco had that dirt on federal law enforcement, if he could prove the FBI killed Elena, then Daniel wasn't just running from the cartel, he was running from his own government. "What do you want?" Marco pocketed the phone. "Partnership. We find the money together, split it 50-50, disappear. You get justice, I get paid. Everyone wins." Daniel wanted to shoot him. Every fiber screamed to pull the trigger. But Marco used Lily as shield, knowing Daniel wouldn't risk a shot that might hit his daughter. And Daniel needed answers. Needed to know if what Marco said about Elena and the FBI was true. "Dad?" Lily's voice cut through tension, small and scared. "What's happening? What's he talking about?" Daniel met her eyes, saw betrayal and confusion, felt something shatter. "How did you tell your daughter her mother had been a criminal, that her father had been lying about everything?" Before he could answer, the front door exploded inward with splintered wood, and 3 figures in tactical gear poured in, weapons raised. voices shouting overlapping commands. Daniel's instincts took over. He dove for Lily, covering her body, gun pointed at floor. Marco spun toward the door, reaching for his belt. The world turned slow motion. Gunshots. 3 of them, deafening in the small room. Marco went down hard, blood spreading across his chest, eyes wide with shock. The tactical team swarmed forward, one checking Marco's pulse while another kept weapon trained on Daniel. "Don't move," the third shouted, and Daniel recognized the voice before the figure lowered her weapon and pulled off her balaclava. Sarah Brennan, his old partner, the woman supposed to be dead, killed in the same raid. Sarah stood in his destroyed living room, breathing hard, eyes meeting his with unreadable expression. "Hello, Alex," she said quietly. "We need to talk." The living room became a crime scene in 3 minutes. Marco lay in spreading blood, still breathing, while Sarah's team stabilized him. Lily clung to Daniel, whole body shaking. Hayes burst through the door, gun drawn, taking in the scene with wide-eyed shock. Sarah held up FBI credentials. "Agent Sarah Brennan, FBI counterterrorism. Stand down. Federal matter." Hayes looked at Daniel, question in his eyes. Daniel nodded slightly. "It's okay." Hayes holstered his weapon but positioned himself near the door. Stubborn sentinel. Sarah gestured to her team. "Get Martinez to the hospital. I want him alive for questioning. Secure the perimeter." The team moved with efficiency, carrying Marco out. Sarah waited until they were gone before turning to Daniel. "You died. I saw the report. You were killed in the raid." Sarah holstered her weapon, sat on the couch arm like she owned the place. "I was burned that night. Someone tipped off the cartel. I barely got out. The Bureau decided it was safer to let everyone think I was dead while I worked the case from shadows, including you." Daniel forced himself to speak calmly. "You've been investigating me this whole time." "Not a question." Sarah nodded. "Everyone connected to that raid. The missing money, dead agents, corruption to the top. You were one thread, Alex, but you disappeared so completely I thought maybe you were dead too, until your fingerprints pinged tonight." Hayes shifted near the door. Sarah glanced at him. "Officer, step outside." Hayes's jaw tightened. "With respect? I'm not leaving a 9-year-old girl in the middle of this." Sarah studied him, then nodded. "Fair. But anything you hear is classified. Breathe a word, and I'll have you in federal custody." Hayes crossed his arms. "Understood." Sarah turned back to Daniel, expression softening slightly. "I'm not here to arrest you. I'm here because you're in danger." Martinez wasn't working alone. He's part of a network cartel and corrupt feds, both all hunting that money. They know you're here now. They know about Lily. They won't stop. Daniel's arms tightened around his daughter. "I don't have the money. Never did. Elena hid it and died before telling me." Sarah's eyes flickered with sympathy. "I know. I've been through every record, property, safety deposit box. It's gone. Donated to charity in anonymous transactions the month before Elena died." The words hung like a bomb. Daniel stared, felt bitter laughter bubbling up. "She gave it away. $20 million. She just gave it away." Sarah nodded. "Children's hospitals, domestic violence shelters, cancer research, small donations, carefully laundered. I found records in a safety deposit box under her maiden name. She left a letter too." Sarah pulled out her phone, scrolled to a photo, read aloud in neutral voice. "To whoever finds this, I know what I did was wrong. I can't undo the damage, can't bring back people who died because of my choices, but maybe I can do some good with blood money before it destroys anyone else. Alex, if you're reading this, I'm sorry. Sorry for lying, for putting you and Lily in danger, for being weak. The money is gone. Let it stay gone. Take our daughter and live. Just live. That's all I want now." The words hit Daniel like physical blows. Lily started crying against his chest, shoulders shaking with sobs she'd been holding back. Elena, his wife, the woman he'd loved and lost and never understood. She'd tried to make amends in her broken way, and died for it. Sarah put away her phone. The FBI didn't kill Elena. They wanted to, I'll admit. There were plans, orders, cover-ups in the works. But she died before they could execute. Her car accident was just that, an accident. Wrong place, wrong time, wrong night to be driving in rain. Daniel didn't know if that made it better or worse. At least if someone killed her, there'd be someone to blame, to hate, to hold accountable. Random chance was just cruelty without purpose. So it was all for nothing. 2 years running, hiding, lying to my daughter, for money that doesn't exist. Sarah walked to the window, looked out at rain-soaked street. Not nothing. You kept Lily safe, gave her 2 years of childhood, of normal. That's not nothing, Alex. Hayes spoke up. So, what happens now? You arrest him? Foster care for the girl? More feds making this worse? Sarah turned back, weight of decisions in her eyes. That depends on Alex, on what he wants, what he's willing to do. Daniel looked down at Lily, still clinging, face wet with tears, breathing ragged. He thought about 2 years of careful construction, about Elena's letter, about the money gone to children who needed it, about the future, the real future, not one built on lies, but something honest and maybe finally safe. I want to stop running, he said, words steadier than expected. I want Lily to have a real life, real name, real place where she doesn't have to be afraid. I want to tell her the truth, all of it, and let her decide if she can forgive me. And I want to help you catch whoever killed my partner, whoever tried to kill you, whoever set this in motion. Sarah studied him, then nodded slowly. That can be arranged, but you'll have to testify. Go on record. Expose everything about bureau corruption and cartel connections. It won't be easy or safe, but it's the only way to end this. Daniel took a breath, feeling weight of decision. Okay, I'll do it. Sarah pulled out her phone, coordinating teams and safe houses. Hayes remained by the door, silent guardian. Daniel met his eyes with gratitude he couldn't express. Lily lifted her head, eyes red and swollen. Dad? Is it true? Everything he said about Mom? Daniel cupped her face, looked into eyes so much like Elena's, chose honesty over comfort. Yes, baby. Your mom made mistakes, but she loved you more than anything, and she died trying to make things right. That's the truth, all of it. Lily's face crumpled, fresh tears spilling, but she nodded, processing, trying to understand. What about you? Are you really FBI? Is your name even Daniel? Daniel smiled sadly, brushing tears with his thumb. My name is Alex, Alex Morrison. I was FBI, long time ago. Everything else, the stories, the life we built that was real. My love for you is real. That's the only thing that matters. Lily threw arms around his neck, holding on like drowning, and Daniel held back just as tight, silently promising that whatever came next, testimony, trials, danger, he would keep her safe. That was his job, the only job that mattered. 6 months passed in blur of testimony and depositions and federal trials, making headlines for weeks. Daniel told everything: corruption, the raid, the money, Elena's betrayal and redemption. Sarah had been right, the truth was ugly and damaged careers. 3 deputy directors resigned, 7 agents indicted. The cartel network connected to Marco Rivera dismantled, 43 arrests across 4 states. Through it all, Daniel and Lily lived in Virginia's safe house, protected by rotating agents, never out of sight. It was prison and sanctuary both. Daniel spent long days teaching Lily how to process grief, how to separate the mother she remembered from the woman she'd never known, how to forgive the unforgivable. She was resilient, stronger than he'd given credit, and slowly she began to heal. The day the last trial ended, Sarah came with paperwork and tired smile. It's done. Marco took a plea life without parole for testimony against remaining cartel leadership. Corrupt agents going to prison. The money Elena donated can't be recovered, but at least it went to good causes. She paused. Question is, what do you want now? New identities? New location? Or try being Alex Morrison again? Daniel had thought about this every day for 6 months. I want to be myself. Alex Morrison. No more lies, no more hiding, just normal life, if that's even possible. Sarah nodded, unsurprised. It is. We've cleared your name, sealed records, made sure anyone searching hits federal walls. You're free to go wherever you want, be whoever you want. Daniel looked toward where Lily was watching TV, heard her laugh. Where's Hayes? I never got to thank him properly. Sarah's smile widened slightly. Officer Hayes put in for early retirement 3 weeks ago. Said he'd seen enough dark side, wanted time with family, but he left you something. She placed an envelope on the table. Inside was a note in Hayes's careful handwriting. Alex, watching you. I learned the answer to how far I'd go to protect my kids is further than I thought. Linda and I talked. If you and Lily need a place to land while you figure out what's next, our door is open. We have a guest room, and Linda's already planning how to make Lily feel welcome. No pressure, just an offer from one father to another. Frank Hayes. The address was written below. Daniel's throat tightened with unexpected emotion. Sarah stood. Whatever you decide, you've earned some peace, Alex. Both of you. Take it. 2 weeks later, Daniel and Lily stood on Hayes's porch. Nice house, well kept, basketball hoop in driveway, evidence of teenage chaos through windows. Before Daniel could knock, the door opened and Hayes stood there, grayer than remembered but smiling with genuine warmth. You came. Come in. Linda's making dinner. Kids are excited to meet Lily. Lily looked up at Daniel, uncertainty in her eyes. He squeezed her hand. It's okay. We're safe here. They stepped inside to chaos of real family Hayes's wife, Linda, offering hugs and cookies. 2 teenagers arguing good-naturedly, dog barking enthusiastically. It was loud and messy and overwhelming. Lily's grip tightened, but Linda knelt to Lily's level, eyes kind. You like puzzles? I've got a 1,000-piece one that's been kicking my butt. Think you can help? Lily glanced at Daniel for permission. He nodded. Go ahead, baby. I'll be right here. He watched her follow Linda, steps hesitant but hopeful. Hayes's hand touched his shoulder. She'll be okay. Kids are resilient. And Linda's a middle school teacher. If anyone can help a kid work through trauma, it's her. That night, after Lily fell asleep, exhausted but smiling, Daniel sat on the back porch with Hayes, nursing beer and watching stars emerge. Thank you, Daniel said finally. For everything. For not giving up that night. For the ride home. For this. You didn't have to. Hayes was quiet, expression thoughtful. When I became a cop, I thought it was about enforcing laws, catching bad guys. And it is. But somewhere along the way, I forgot sometimes the system fails people. Sometimes the rules don't account for gray areas. You reminded me of that. I've been thinking about that night. How close I came to arresting you, putting Lily in the system, being part of machinery that would have destroyed both your lives. I realized I didn't want to be that kind of cop anymore. The kind who follows orders without thinking, who sees suspects instead of people. Daniel studied Hayes's profile. So you retired. Hayes nodded. 22 years was enough. I've got pension, savings, and a wife who's been patient with long hours for too long. Time to be a father again. Remember why I started. They sat in comfortable silence, 2 men who'd seen darkness and chosen to step toward light. Finally, Hayes spoke again. How long are you planning to stay? Daniel had been asking himself the same question. Few weeks, maybe? Until Lily feels stable enough to move somewhere permanent. We can't impose forever. Hayes waved dismissively. Stay as long as you need. Linda already loves having another girl, and the kids think Lily's funny. Besides, it'll give you time to figure out what comes next. Daniel thought about that, second chances, new beginnings, life without looking over his shoulder. I used to be good at my job. Before everything went bad, I was a good agent. I helped people. Made a difference. Hayes nodded. You thinking about going back? Daniel shook his head. No. That life's over. But maybe there's something else. Something that uses what I learned without putting Lily in danger. Private security, maybe. Consulting for companies needing threat assessment. It sounded plausible. Almost normal. Hayes smiled. Sounds like a plan. Let me know if you need references. I know a guy who runs a security firm downtown. Always looking for competent people. Daniel felt the tight knot in his chest finally beginning to unravel. They finished their beers in silence, and when Daniel checked on Lily, he found her sleeping peacefully, face relaxed in ways he hadn't seen since before Elena died. Over the next weeks, they settled into routine that felt almost normal. Lily started seeing a therapist Linda recommended, slowly processing everything. Daniel started looking into jobs, reaching out to contacts, building a plan that didn't involve running or hiding. And every evening they ate with Hayes's family, sharing stories and laughter and learning how to be part of something larger than just the two of them. 3 months later, Daniel signed lease on small house 4 blocks from Hayes's place, close enough to maintain connection, far enough for their own space. 2 bedrooms, postage stamp yard, windows that let in morning light. Perfect. Lily picked paint colors, lavender and white, glow in the dark stars for ceiling, and Daniel hung pictures of Elena on walls, letting his daughter's mother exist not as saint or sinner, but as complicated woman who'd made terrible choices and tried, at the end, to do something right. Daniel started working for security firm Hayes's contact ran, consulting on threat assessment and protective protocols. Good work, honest work, and every Sunday they had dinner at Hayes's house, 2 families blending in ways that felt less like obligation and more like choice. 6 months after moving in, Daniel came home from work to find Lily in the backyard, digging in their small garden. She looked up when he approached, dirt smudged on nose, grinning. Look what I found. She held up a small USB drive encased in waterproof plastic. It was buried under the rose bush. Think the people before left it? Daniel's blood went cold. He took the drive carefully, turned it over, recognized distinctive marking Elena's initials scratched into plastic. His wife had been here, had buried this. But this house was 4 blocks from Hayes, in a town they'd moved to 6 months ago. Elena had never been here. Unless. Daniel's mind raced to the paperwork Sarah had shown him, to the deed he'd signed, previous owner listed as E.M., Properties LLC. E.M., Elena Morrison. His wife had bought this house 2 years ago, before she died, and he'd never known. She'd planned for the possibility he and Lily would end up here, would need a place truly theirs. And she'd left something. Daniel looked at Lily, watching with curious eyes. It's from your mom. She left this for us. They went inside together. Daniel plugged the USB into his laptop with shaking hands. The drive contained a single video file, dated 3 weeks before Elena died. He clicked play. His wife's face filled the screen, thinner than he remembered, dark circles under eyes, but still beautiful. Alex, Elena's recorded voice said, and Daniel felt Lily's hand slip into his. If you're watching this, I'm gone. And I'm sorry. For all of it. For lying, for stealing, for putting you and Lily in danger. I know you probably hate me. I understand if you do. She paused, took breath, continued. The money's gone. I donated all of it because I couldn't live with myself knowing it came from suffering, but I kept something evidence of corruption. Names of every dirty agent and cartel contact I knew. It's all on this drive. Insurance, in case something happened to me. Sarah Brennan knows about it, or she will by the time you watch this. Trust her. She's one of the good ones. Elena's eyes filled with tears. Daniel felt his own vision blur. Take care of our girl, Alex. Tell her I loved her more than anything. Tell her I tried to be better, even if I failed. And tell her, Elena's voice broke, tell her she doesn't have to forgive me. But maybe someday she can understand that people are complicated, and we do the best we can with the broken parts we're given." The video ended. Daniel sat in silence. Lily curled against his side, both crying quietly. After a long moment, Lily spoke. "She really did love us, didn't she?" Daniel nodded, unable to speak past tightness in throat. Elena had been flawed and broken and made terrible choices, but she'd loved them. That had always been true. The next day, Daniel called Sarah about the USB drive. She came personally, expression grave when she saw the files. "This is big. This could finish what we started. Put away the last corrupt agents, cut off cartel's federal connections completely." Daniel nodded. That's what she wanted. Clean slate for everyone. Sarah looked at him, really looked, and Daniel saw respect. "You did good, Alex. Both of you. Elena too, in her way." She left with the drive. Daniel watched her go, feeling like a chapter was finally, truly closing. That night, Lily asked if they could visit Elena's grave. First time she'd asked. Daniel agreed immediately. They drove in silence, stopped for flowers at convenience store, and when they reached the simple headstone, Lily knelt and traced fingers over her mother's name. "Hi, Mom. We're okay. Dad and me. We have a house now, and friends, and we're not scared anymore. I wanted you to know." Daniel knelt beside her, hand on her shoulder, added his own silent goodbye to Elena, to the past, to the man he used to be who'd carried so much anger and confusion and pain. They stayed until sun started setting, painting sky in orange and gold. When they finally left, Daniel felt lighter than he had in years. On the drive home, Lily asked, "Do you think we'll ever stop missing her?" Daniel considered the question, gave it the honesty it deserved. "I think we'll always miss her, but I also think we'll be okay anyway. Missing someone and being okay can exist at the same time." Lily nodded, processing. They drove the rest in comfortable silence. When they pulled into their driveway, Hayes was standing on their porch holding a casserole dish, Linda beside him, both waving. Daniel and Lily climbed out, walked up to their house, opened the door to let their friends inside. The past was still there, would always be there, but it no longer defined them. Alex Morrison and Lily Morrison were building something new, something honest, something real. And for the first time since Elena died, since the raid went bad, since his entire life imploded and reformed, Daniel let himself believe that maybe, just maybe, they were going to be okay. The gun Hayes had given him that night sat in a locked box in his closet. Some nights Daniel still checked windows before bed, still scanned crowds for threats that weren't there. Old habits died hard, and paranoia had kept them alive so long it was difficult to let go. But slowly, day by day, he was learning to trust the quiet, learning to believe in normal, learning that sometimes the greatest courage wasn't in fighting darkness but in choosing to step into light and risk being seen. And Lily, resilient and brave and more forgiving than he deserved, was learning too. Learning that family could be complicated and love could coexist with betrayal, and that truth, however painful, was better than the prettiest lie. They had scars, both of them, but scars meant healing, meant survival, meant they'd come through fire and made it out the other side. And that, Daniel thought as he watched Lily laugh at something Linda said, as he accepted a beer from Hayes and felt the weight of genuine friendship, as he looked around at the life they'd built from ashes of everything they'd lost, that was enough. More than enough. It was everything.